Hi guys, welcome to the channel talking all things Zelda and to the final part of my no spoilers series on the final trailer, and today's theme is awesome. Villains and potential plot twists. Always a fascinating topic in any Zelda game, and you'll want to stick around for the really interesting concept I've pulled together. If you want to catch up on parts 1 and 2 of the series after watching this video, I'll link them in the description below and at the end of this video. Right, so today's video will be split into 2 parts. Part 5, Demise and the Blood Moon, and then part 6, potential plot twists. Let's kick the final part of the series off with part 5 then, and the incredibly interesting topic of Demise and the Blood Moon, and the ultimate influence this will all have on Ganondorf. We know Ganondorf is back, but does this shot here essentially confirm the return of Demise, with the malice tendrils flowing down his back? The design choice shows a clear link with the fiery hair of Demise. While yes, this could be Ganondorf in his final form, I think this is more likely to be Ganondorf when Demise controls him at the rise of each Blood Moon. There's a reason Skyward Sword was re-released to be the Zelda game immediately preceding Tears of the Kingdom. The Zelda team clearly wanted to re-familiarize the fanbase with the ultimate bad guy. Demise is pure evil, malice incarnate, but I'm still not convinced Ganondorf is. What I'm hoping is that Tears of the Kingdom leans into Breath of the Wild's method of storytelling, in that it uses memories or flashbacks to build and develop its characters, and there would be no memory line more interesting than Ganondorf's, showing what influenced him growing up, his potential struggle with good and evil, and how Demise came to corrupt him. Ganondorf started life as a Gerudo after all. Could we be heading for that Ganondorf redemption arc? Link could still fight Ganondorf at various points in the game, but with each fight, Ganondorf's internal struggle with Demise's malice becomes more apparent. We see Link begin to be corrupted by the malice in the various trailers, but the Zonai arm seems to prevent the further spread of it, and the damage and corruption is confined to his arm. I wonder if there will be moments when the malice in Link's arm forces it to act independently of Link's own will. What if Ganondorf was corrupted by the malice in the same way in a past age, but with the key difference of having nothing or nobody around to save him from this fate of being completely consumed by Demise's malice? Memories could really dig into this story point, especially as Ganondorf is now voice acted. Going back to an idea from my good versus evil Ganondorf video, could we see each of the 3 Triforce wielders, Zelda, Link and Ganondorf, uniting and using the full power of the Triforce to fight together to defeat Demise, once Zelda and Link realise that Ganondorf is a being possessed? What if the Blood Moon is Demise at his most powerful, and the point at which Ganondorf truly loses control, like a werewolf would at a full moon? Could the Blood Moon even be a living entity and have its own agenda? We've seen it before in Majora's Mask. I've spoken before about Skyloft being at the higher end of the altitude meter scale, and as we progress through the game, we'll be able to ascend further and further into the sky. But what if we climb even beyond that, and the game's crescendo and battle with the final boss takes place on the surface of the Blood Moon? A showdown with a Ganondorf possessed by Demise on the surface of the Blood Moon would be absolutely epic, or even a full power Demise now detached from his vessel Ganondorf. What a fight that would be. Part 6 then, and the final part of my series, potential plot twists. And I've got an idea for an absolutely awesome one. I think you'll enjoy this idea, and it centers around many of the points I've previously discussed throughout the series. So, by this point, based on the evidence from the various trailers, we can say that the Zonai have had a hand in the creation of the Tears, or are at least heavily connected to them. I've spoken about how the Tears may have been created as an enhancement or alternative to the Seven Sages' sealing power, on the basis that sealing Ganon or Ganondorf has ultimately failed again and again. The seal always deteriorates and eventually breaks breaks. But in order to make the tears, the 7 sages may have had to give up some of their power by pouring that power into each of their respective tears. This would potentially leave each sage and their descendants or successors more vulnerable, but the Zonai might have convinced the sages that this was a risk worth taking while aiding with the creation process due to their deep knowledge of magic, with one of the tears being specifically used to seal Ganondorf, being the tear ingrained in the middle of his forehead. And this is where it gets interesting. From what we've seen so far, all the evidence seems to suggest that the Zonai have, or at least had, a good relationship with Zelda and the royal family, and she looks to have been taken in by their leader in the trailer, wherever she currently resides. We know, thanks to the expanded mural, that Ganondorf fought the Zonai, but what if there's actually an added layer of complexity to this, and Demise has been weaving away in the background, pulling the strings from the shadows, and the Zonai's relationship with Zelda, and the one that was forged with Zelda's predecessors thousands of years ago, was all part of Demise's elaborate plan. Let me explain. Demise may have adapted his strategy throughout the ages, realizing that simply relying on power and destruction was an ineffective game plan. What if the real and key relationship here is between Demise and the Zonai? Think about it. Where did the Zonai even come from? They weren't around in the era of myth, in the times of Skyward Sword and Ocarina of Time. They may have even been created by Demise in ages subsequent to those initial ages. They are known to have had a particular interest in power and the Triforce itself, which would make sense if they were created by Demise, made in the image of their creator. So the Zonai may have been brought into the world in secret, gaining favour with the royal family and the races of Hyrule over time, even fighting against Ganondorf, who may very well still be acting as Demise's ultimate puppet. Smoke and mirrors while Demise acts in the background. The Zonai may have been biding their time and carefully and intricately putting their plan into motion. And what is their plan, I hear you ask? Well, the Tears of the Kingdom themselves, all 7 of them, and I think Lord of the Rings may have offered some inspiration here. 7 tears made in total, but 1 tear to rule them all. We have to look at why the Zonai made the tears. Was it to replace the Triforce? Did they deceive each of the recipients and the leaders of the various races by weakening their innate power, only to make tears which Ganondorf and ultimately Demise could control, with the Zonai hand supposedly holding Ganondorf in place, but in reality strengthening him over time, ready to awaken at the right moment. There is even Zonai language inscribed on the tears. What if the tears are subject to a well-crafted spell of the Zonai, which ultimately allows Ganondorf and Demise control over the full set, to be activated at a vital time and therefore turning the tide in their favour? And how about this for an awesome theory? Yes, the hand seemingly saves Link from falling and potentially from the spread of malice throughout his body, but is this because Link is the pawn required to face the trials of the 7 dungeons, to power up each of the tears to their optimal level before being betrayed by the hand, discarded as a piece of the board no longer required, in service of its true master, Demise? I'm not saying this will happen, but a Demise and Zonai secret relationship would be one hell of a plot twist. The Zelda series has such a rich lore set to draw from and so many directions it could take. I'm so excited to discover how all this plays out. Wrapping up then, how did you find the final part of the series? We are almost there, and whatever happens next, we are in for an incredible ride. Guys, I really need your help. I've got lots of stuff on the way, just enough time to squeeze in a couple more no spoilers theories before release of Tears of the Kingdom, and then lots of great plans for projects post-release. So if you could like, subscribe, share, it would be very much appreciated. I want this channel to be as interactive as possible, so comment down below to let me know your own thoughts. Please also help me out and subscribe, and I'll throw some more awesome content your way soon on all things Zelda. Thanks, have a good one, and catch you next time.